All right, so it is Friday, and I am making some progress. I finished the floor last night, got it all done, fit in the fussy bits. The last little strip was a 6-inch tapered piece that had to be cut to fit between the old floor and the new floor because nothing's even up here. Today, I framed in the wall that forms the knee wall, which is the safety for the balcony. Decided to sheet it with OSB board. I'll get to that in a minute. And I put the bar top on because I had a piece that needed to get out of here anyway, so I put it in place. I think it looks pretty sharp. It's just enough. You can get your knees under it, as long as I don't raise the floor here much. And you can sit there, you can read, you can have a coffee, whatever, drink a glass of wine. It is enough to be able to look down into the shop. If you're standing here, you got to duck your head under the beam anyway. I found we have a couple of old sliding glass doors where the seals are blown, but the glass is good, and there's just enough room to fit them in the opening there for the winter to seal this up, because that's going to be a heated space. This is unheated. So that's looking pretty sharp. Normally now, I wouldn't use OSB, ever. Especially 7/16. It's not even a full 1/2 inch. It's really weak. Never use it to clad an exterior of a house because it's just not waterproof. It starts delaminating. It's off gases formaldehyde. I wouldn't want it in my house. Here in the barn, there's plenty of air movement. Not so worried about it off gassing. What I wanted it for was, it was inexpensive. It's one of the cheapest plywoods you can get right now, $10 a sheet, less than half the price of a comparable chipboard, or even commercial plywood's probably $15 cheaper. But I also wanted it for a little bit of shear strength because, so timber frame barns, which this was, built in the early 1800s, were works of art. They were built to stand without any exterior cladding. And they were framed so they were integral and strong. And look, this thing's lasted 250 plus years, right? Little less, because 1810, 1812 was around when this was built. So it's lasted all these years, right? Because the strength of the timber frame. Now, however, in the 50s, people like to remodel these old barns and do stuff, and they did a lot of idiotic stuff. They took out the knee framing, the knee braces that fit in these pockets and here and formed a 90. They left them in the corners here, but they took them out in between. So what happened was these barns tended to rack one way or the other. And this one's no exception. And the ceiling's been replaced in the early 80s. They tore out stuff to replace it. So we've got a mixture of 2x4 braces, 4x4s that were added, a combination of a 4x4 and a 2x4, another 2x4 here. What's missing is the big end purlin going across, like on the gable ends. They took those out for whatever reason, probably rotten because the roof was rotten. They cut out the purlin joists and they added a rafter system. Because normally the boards would have run from ridge to eave. Up and down rather than back and forth across. Anyway, history lesson over. The strength of this barn had been compromised over the years, and so my choosing the OSB is multifold. It quickly seals up the space. So when I'm down below, I've got a wall below here that's insulated, and I use the chipboard to seal it in because the backside is just open. It just needed something. It's where the freezers live. It needed to be dust-free and seal it up and keep it a clean space. So it could be painted if we want, whatever. But also, it sealed up that insulation, and now it's added some lateral strength. Same thing, this little knee wall, I wanted to be as strong as possible because this floor is open and it's spread, and that's a weak point that could sag. So not only did I brace the joists across with blocking to make this an integral, strong unit, but now I've added this 2-foot girder of sorts. I mean, it's certainly going to help keep this from sagging in the middle, keep the floor from dipping, and add some strength to that. Now I've thrown that bar in there. Again, that's doubling up everything. That's adding some strength. Now, the reason I chose it was okay to use the OSB board up here is because that's getting covered with the offcuts from the ceiling material that's going to go up there. It'll be a little bit kitschy Americana barn, but that's honestly what people go for. Not quite my taste. It'll look sharp. I want it to look clean. I want it to look sharp. I need this to be easy and get done because I'm not getting first cut finished and I got to start second cut soon. So I've got the framing portion of today done. I'm going to add, well, I guess I want to add the sheathing on the backside here in this room to seal up that insulation. So I'll get the OSB put in there and then call it quits for today up here, other than a little bit of cleanup. And tomorrow I got to hit it hard. I got to take all of this stuff out of here and get this swept and vacuumed and ready for Sunday dinner. So I got a little carried away, worried that I had done everything to measurement. I made the bar parallel with the roof beam because I needed plates of glass to go in there relatively easily. I also just wanted a 2-foot knee wall. I want to be able to sit at the floor, and wherever you sit there with the same chair, your knees wouldn't hit the bar. I forgot to check whether that bar was level side to side because the floor isn't quite, it is mostly true, but the below the floor of this beam is an inch different than that beam. And I tried to correct it, but wasn't sure I got it set. So a level shows that I am 1.5 inches out. That when I place a level here and I try to make this bubble even, it takes a block of framing lumber under one side to make the bubble level. However, I didn't want to raise it up and make my work for closing this off this winter more difficult. And I did step back and look, and it looks pretty good, I think. I mean, the light's probably causing the camera to be a little weird because I know it caused my eyes to be weird. But I think it looks pretty sharp. It looks like it's level. And so I thought, well, okay, what's it going to look like when you're sitting there with a glass of wine, a bottle or something? So we just happen to have a bottle of wine that wasn't finished at the last dinner, and it's up here with a collection of wine bottles that I'm going to do something with someday. And I thought, well, let's look and see what it looks like in the bottle, with a bottle sitting there. And I actually think it looks pretty dang sharp. Close enough for government work, as they say. So, yeah. It does not look significantly different or out of whack like that or something. So, good enough for government work, or close enough for the gal I go with, as they say. So I'm happy with that. I'm going to throw up that cladding in the room here. I just got to go get a broom to sweep out stuff. By rights, this junk room, this little closet, should have a light, but there really isn't a ceiling in it anyway, so it's just some boards tucked up there. And it's really just kind of deep storage overflow. Eventually, once we get things settled a little more up here, may make a linen, kind of a linen glassware dish cupboard there, rather than the sort of deep storage junk stuff that's there right now. Anyway, let's get this plywood up and take a break. Is it kitten? Is she outside? Is kitten an autonomous being? You want her inside? Do we have to go get her?
of gloves. That is not workable.
So I'm up here giving the cows a bit of grazing, and it's not looking good. This area here looks fairly lush and it's fairly tall and thick. But you get down in and it's a totally other story. Yeah, the grass is short and it's burnt off in places, almost non-existent in others. Out there, it really hasn't regrown at all. This section was the very first section that I topped and fertilized, and we've had some rain since then on this bit, which is why it's as long as it is. Now, it's mild by comparison today. I think it's only going to be about 78 instead of 10 degrees warmer. But also, we're supposed to get a half inch of rain tonight. Fingers crossed, if it ever happens. So I want to keep grass in the cow's diet. They do so much better if the rumen keeps ticking along. If the microbes are there to digest this, it means they're going to digest the silage better. So, and their health will be better and the milk production will be better. Because right now, last few days, I actually fed them a bale of hay and production tanked. And we've had a little bit of health issues with Luna, who's freshly calved, because she's gone into what's known as ketosis. Her body is using up energy rapidly. Her food isn't metabolizing quickly enough. It's not rich enough for her. And so she's starting to mobilize fat and send her body into a ketotic state, which is not good. So we're addressing that with her. She seems to be doing good on her recovery, but a little bit of grass will go a long way to keeping them healthy, keeping the rumens ticked over, create some of those problems. Problem is, as long as I can stretch this maybe 7 days a week, then there is no grass beyond the brow right here. So don't know what we're going to do. I will definitely still graze them through the field, but I also am going to move them over into the Japanese millet. And that'll probably happen, well, about the time we move them up there. Probably this week I'll start giving them a small section of the millet each day until it's consumed. And I would imagine I'll break that into 3 or 4 sections, because I should do a nitrate test on that, because I've let it go too long. It's gone to seed, which would be great for the ground next year. There'll be lots of millet next summer, but without having to spend any more money on it. But it won't regrow at this point this season, so this is a one and done, and it could be high in nitrates due to its state of growth and the drought. So we'll just have to be careful. I'm pretty sure that's a non-nitrate accumulating, fairly benign brand, Japanese millet, the type. And so it should be good across, even if it got frost or anything. It doesn't have some of the effects that other millet varieties do. And that should really boost their milk production. And then we'll put the calves in there later on this fall if it does get any regrowth. But yeah, it's going to be dire. We're going to still be feeding out silage all the rest of this year, and whether this pasture recovers all depends on how much rain we get the rest of this month and what next month looks like, because this hot baking sun isn't doing anybody any good at this point. I realize the other reason to graze this off now is the grass is actually going backwards. It's starting to, it's withering and drying. It's going to go crispy brown, lose all nutrients, and basically become standing hay, even as short as it is. So might as well clean it off. Pasture's going to go into emergency drought mode. It's all going to go brown anyway. It's going to be the rest of this year to recover, I imagine. Not unless, I mean, we've got the cool weather and growing weather now. It's not super hot anymore. So maybe if we got several periods of rain, start catching up, but it'll take a while before this starts shooting back up again. I only hope that the second cut, the roots are going down deep enough that they're tapping some subsurface moisture now, because it seems to be the second cut, at least at Farnsworth, was regrowing really nicely. The Labrie is another story. I think it was cut later. That week and a half later was too much. So yeah, this has been a weird one because it's only really been dry. Well, now it's dry going on a month and a half plus, but it's the combination of no rain or seasonally less rain than normal, but the super high temperatures just killing everything. So as if drought alone weren't enough to stress me out, drought stick and forage can be high in nitrates, and nitrates can poison cattle. So now we have to unlock a whole new set of fears and things to look out for in the cows. Now, this field has not had its full amount of urea put on it. It has had, the area that they're going to go graze had manure spread on it very early on while we were still getting rain, and they've grazed it since then. So I'm less worried about the nitrogen from the manure. I'm less worried about the nitrogen from the manure I applied, but it's still possible. And also, the lower down a plant, closer to the ground, the more nitrogen is accumulated, nitrates are accumulated there. Well, these plants are only 6 inches tall. They're going to be grazing the field down to the nubbins. So, fortunately, the species that they're grazing are less likely to other than perhaps the Japanese millet. But I'm going to investigate that. I'm also going to ease them into it. The species they're grazing will be less likely to have accumulation of nitrogen just because of the type of forage. However, it's droughty. I'm grazing them a few days after a rain period, so the flush of any nitrates coming out of the ground into the plant should have dissipated by now, hopefully. I am grazing them later in the afternoon. It's just about 2 o'clock. So they've had bellies full of silage. That'll cause them to eat less of the forage and not be as starved for it. And these are dairy cows, so they get a certain percentage of grain in their diet, which helps deter the development of ammonia in their rumen, which is what causes nitrate poisoning in cattle. So hopefully, all things being equal and fingers crossed, what I am not doing right now is sending my cows out to die. What I am doing, hopefully, is extending the grazing season and giving them some forage they can eat. So, and this is third growth, so I don't know if that has any effect on things. I can't find any real clear information on this setup, but we're fingers crossed, we're going for it. This is off the chart, uncharted territory for me. I've never had to graze the cows in this particular circumstance.
Our little road.
A mile long, 1-lane road.
Well, we got a cool, damp day, but not the 3/4 of an inch to an inch of rain that we were supposed to get overnight. Apparently, some sort of fence is low. Some sort of front moved in and intersected the rain system and divided it in half. Half went northwest of us, the other half went southeast of us. Completely around the area that needs the most rain. And so I know you look at it on this and you see, yeah, there's some brown coming up out there. It's green mostly. We've got this lush, drought-tolerant millet growing, but not enough of it. I wish I had overseeded the whole field with millet, because it might have something to graze. Heat and drought tolerant is, and also the millet, that millet, Japanese millet, doesn't mind wet feed either. So, yeah, I set the cows out here to graze yesterday. A little bit worried about nitrate poisoning, but they did an okay job. I'm gonna give them the next section today, and their milk volume went up, so that was a good thing. So yeah, I'm gonna give them a bit more of this morning. Now, this rain not coming at us is a little bit of an issue, because I know we're not burning off to a crisp like some areas of the country and the world, but this is our second year of bad drought. Last year, I don't know, we'll go back and look on the channel how I dealt with that. Last year we had too much water and then not enough for a longer time. And we had a cold, snowy winter, but the ground froze too tight and the water transportation locked up. So any of that snow and rain that fell during the winter didn't make it down into the water table. So we are already a foot deficit of soil moisture. And having this drought now, that's why July caused things to dry out so bad, because we were already lacking the ground moisture. It should not be this way. It didn't have to be this way. We didn't have to listen to big oil blame cows for climate change, when all along burning fossil fuels is what got us here. And the reluctance to quit and to invest in cleaner energy and pasture-based food systems. There is a damp wind, there's a mist, cold, rainy mist hitting me right now, which is nice. Yeah, I just said something important there. A distinction I want to start making. Pasture-based. Grass-fed has become the buzzword, the big term. And yeah, if you're sending your cows out to graze, the cows are grass-fed. But you can also mechanically harvest the grass, bring it to the cows that are locked in sheds in ever-increasing numbers, and you can call that grass-fed too, because the cows are eating grass. But that does nothing for the regional ecology, the soil ecology, and the planet's health. Cows grazing on grass, on pasture, cut out a whole bunch of operations that we have been replacing with fossil fuel. Now, you're still going to need tractors. You still need to feed your cows in the winter. But pasture-based ecologies really promote health of the soil, the structure, the grass. We sock away more carbon by growing more grass and having the cows digest it and put it back on the field. So grass-fed is great. Pasture-based is better. So that's what, I am a grazer. I love grazing cows. I love the challenges within reason. I mean, been far too many challenges lately. I love the challenges. I love the aspects of the grass. I love what product the grass creates, the milk that comes out of the cows. But all of that is only possible because I graze. Our milk and the cheeses that we make from it, and now the butter we make from it, are winning awards, are getting customer recognition because of the flavor, because you can taste something that doesn't exist out there in the bigger dairies, the bigger cheeses, the blended milks. Some of the local butters are great, and they're sold at a price point you can't beat. But if you enjoy flavor and texture, then our single herd of Jersey cows grazed on pasture, not just grass-fed, but grazed on a diverse pasture, that milk and the cheese and the butter taste better than the butter from the blended milk of 10 herds. So stop thinking grass-fed, start thinking pasture-based. So I'm in here in the freezer room putting up an outlet and a light, this fluorescent one. It's still, this used to be a workshop. It used to be lined with a ceiling all the way down. There was a workbench right along a wall here and workbenches at the end and along the back wall. It was a pretty tight space, pretty low ceiling. It was, I don't know what they were using it for when they had it as a workshop. It was kind of added here in the 50s and 60s, and it didn't really work for anything I needed. It was a little too far in the barn, and I don't like doing mechanic greasy stuff in a wooden barn because it just adds fuel to the fire, as it were. So yeah, and I don't like doing any kind of metalworking in a wooden barn because of sparks. Again, fire hazard. So it didn't really work. It was too small a space to do any the kind of woodworking I do, like build tables and furniture and cabinets and stuff. It didn't work for that. So we tore it out. It's been nothing for a long time. It was storage. I had these racks under the window on the wall. It was had a lot of tools and stuff in here. All of it's been stuffed in the corner there for the moment to clear space so we can get this project done. That stuff can be sorted out in the winter. We lined it with the OSB. Again, not my favorite thing, but it does add some cheap strength and keeps the plywood, keeps the insulation from getting damaged or dirty or rodents or whatever. Cat pulling it out to crap in and make a nest. So I've got some wiring done in here. I'm going to try and I've wired the switch for the lights, added a light to the hallway here. I'm going to try and do like the basic wiring stuff, get the outlets installed where they need to go, and then I'll worry about turning the power off and wiring into the breaker box when the time comes. Need a few more outlets that I'm not sure where I'm going to get the power from. I need an outlet for this freezer here. I think I can get it, sneak it from somewhere there. I'm trying to make sure that all the freezers are on their own circuit. A little bit of a problem because this is a sub panel off of a sub panel all the way coming from the house. I should have made the switch over when we did the power to the creamery, but the power to the creamery, the new breaker box, the new panel in the creamery is at capacity. So, and it is kind of nice. It would have been nice if the house generator powered the circuit box in the barn when there's power outage, but it doesn't. So that's a hassle. Eventually we're going to turn this barn solar and we'll have a new breaker, and this sub will be a sub panel of the new breaker box, and there'll be new circuits. But anyway, it's a little overloaded. I got to do some switching around. There's a bunch of circuits down below in the cellar of the barn that don't ever get used, so I can just do away with them because each of these big appliances needs its own 20 amp breaker. So I've got one to wire here Another one to wire behind the refrigerator. If I can get the refrigerator one wired and hooked up in the panel, all I have to do is put those boards in that opening. And then if I can get the freezer done, I can fill in the boards there, because right now there's an extension cord going the shortest way possible through the wall. So if I can get that wall finished, get the stuff cleaned out, I can put the 2 units in place. And I need to get the units in place because my next task after, hopefully tomorrow, if I get that far, is to start working on the ceiling and finishing this side of the balcony and the cladding up there and the cladding and insulation on the end wall. So things are rolling along. There's a trillion other things I should be doing, but this is hugely important because we derive a large part of our income from the farm store. And if we can, this summer, I don't know what it is been about this summer. We've had the cheese hut, which you can't see because of the lighting, but it's right out there. The cheese hut has been in operation since the pandemic, since 2020. And we've been really lucky with the people who come and shopped in all weather there. But this year, for some reason, I'd say fully a quarter to a third of the people that stop here have asked if we have a store. And that's a change over previous years. And I know we've lost customers because they'll come shop in the rain once and they won't come back again. And I know that we've had people drive in the driveway, turn around and leave, or not understand the cheese hut. They're constantly trying to go in the buildings. So hopefully this will settle that. And we'll make some signage, make it obvious, start capturing those lost sales. And and I also have to figure out lighting in here. This is going to be a sliding door right here. There'll be a sliding door and that opening right there. This will be blocked off, so none of the natural light coming from the windows in the back will be here in this corner. We have to wait to plug these in and see how much light they cast, because that actually could make this space quite bright. Up here, coming down from the new ceiling, I'm going to hang a chandelier that I have yet to design and make. So fingers crossed I can do something with that. I also need to sell my horse harnesses, which are hanging around up there, because I don't need them anymore. We don't run a team of horses. I've been hanging on to them for sentimental reasons, and there's no point anymore. Anyway, press on.